Yesterday evening, a new Repentance patch dropped. There's not a crazy amount of new content or anything, but I think it's a very well done patch with some much needed improvements. There's noticeable changes and or buffs to some items that really needed it. A couple characters were given a touch up, and there's a brand new boss. Now I'll show you all of the changes and give you my thoughts on it. Let's start with the spooky thing that has appeared in the Ash Pit. That spooky thing being a new boss, Clutch. He's actually a boss I really enjoy quite a lot. He's this cool purple ghost that possesses these skeleton enemies. I don't know what they're called, I always call them dry bones. You can only hurt the dry bones once the ghost possesses them. If you shoot at the dry bones when they're not possessed, the ghost will give them a shield, just like these priest enemies. Just like the little ghosts who throw rocks, the ghost will telegraph which dry bones it's going to with this purple line. Once there, they let out a circle of bones and then they charge you down, throwing bones at you. The ghost can switch between these dry bones all they want. When you eventually do kill one of them, they turn into a purple fire that shoots bones at you. When you kill them all, he'll stall for a second and there's a chance that he brings them all back. So he brings them back to life and he can do everything all over again. Or he'll kill all the dry bones and use their bones as shields. Then it'll dash around the screen and shoot fire from all sides until you kill it. I think he's a really fun boss. I would not call him OP by any means, but he's no pushover either. As time goes on, I can easily see myself taking damage to him every now and then. I also love him aesthetically. It looks like they went with some hand-drawn cartoony style. I'm not sure if this was intended, but this boss kind of looks like one of Isaac's drawings. Now let's move on to Blue Baby and Lazarus, the two characters that got a buff. Ed tweeted saying that they looked at people's character tier lists and they buffed two characters that were commonly on the low ends. I have no idea if they looked at my character tier list specifically, but I literally had those two as my bottom two normal characters. And this was before any patch. Now I would bump T-Kane up and these two would literally be my bottom two characters. Let's start with the Blue Baby buffs. He now gets devil deals at a reduced cost. And he also starts with an innate lil larva effect, which makes it so when you destroy a poop, it spawns a blue fly. In my opinion, this is much needed. I always liked Blue Baby in the sense that he's the first real challenge character that you face, and that's because he can't have any red heart containers. But as more characters are introduced that also can't have red heart containers, he starts to feel a little useless and more of a joke. There was just no unique appeal to playing him at a certain point. But now he's the only soul heart character that can take devil deals for this cheap, and his poop item is guaranteed to pay out a fly after every room. While neither of these things are insane changes, they're much needed, and they finally make him stand out a bit. I'd say he's still my least favorite base character, but I would no longer put him in the boring tier. I'm not sure where, but I'd probably move him up to fine. Now let's move on to Lazarus. The easiest way to explain it to you is that you have a guaranteed Dead Lazarus revive every floor. When you die and revive as Dead Laz and then move on to the next floor, you are reverted back to regular Laz, and you can do this every single floor. Every time you do this, you gain a permanent 0.5 damage. And instead of going back down to Dead Lazarus's 1 heart every time you die, you only lose 1 heart container when Laz is revived. This cannot kill you, by the way. Revived Laz gets an increased damage multiplier from 1.2 to 1.4. His birthright's duration was also changed from 3 minutes to 1. However, this bonus is granted every time Lazarus turns into his revived form. Again, I think this change is much needed. I always viewed Laz as kind of a pointless character. To me, there was two strategies: die ASAP to essentially play as Dead Laz, or treat Dead Laz as regular Lazrags. And that's it. This change allows so much strategy with how you have to weigh the pros and cons of killing yourself to turn into Dead Laz each floor. You can play a really risky game for the damage ups, or you can just use it as some really good defense. I think this is a huge change for Lazarus that I'm very excited about. I'm not sure exactly where he'd go on the list. I'll have to play him a bit more, but I'd still say that he's above Blue Baby, and I'm guessing he'd sit either in fine or good. By the way, I intend to update my entire tier list in a future video to account for the patches, and in general my mind changed on a few of them. Now let's go over all of the changes that have been made to items, or should I say all of the buffs that have been added to items. Ed also mentioned mentions that he asked fans what their lowest tier items were, and they took those lists and changed them for the better. I never made a list of my lowest tier items, but if I did, you would definitely be seeing some of these items on that list. Some of these changes are subtle, but I think they all greatly improve the items in some way, and I am so happy to see these changes. I'll just read off the list for you. Bleed effects from Mom's Razor and Backstabber now deal damage based on how quickly an enemy is moving. The faster the enemy is, the more damage they take. While an enemy bleeds, they leave behind creep that damages other enemies. Mom's Razor now blocks projectiles and can damage bosses. There's also new visual and audio feedback for Backstabber's effect. Camo Undies now grants 0.5 speed while cloaked. When uncloaking, all nearby enemies take damage, and Isaac gains a brief tears plus damage up. Lost Fly now deals damage less frequently, that being 7 damage every 7 frames, but now it forces enemies to target it. The D12 can now reroll more obstacles including poop, spikes, and fireplaces, and can generate more varied obstacles. Pay to Play now works on double locked doors, key blocks, and chests, and features new sprites for all of the locked doors. We Need to Go Deeper, Mom's Shovel, AWAS now feature a secret method to guarantee a crawl space once per floor, and they no longer create them based on random chance. To get a crawl space, you have to use it on one of these markings on the ground. Lil Dumpy is now a follower and automatically produces a butterbean fart when an enemy or projectile is about to hit Isaac. Voodoo Head now improves curse room layouts and rewards. Book of Sin no longer creates micro batteries. As far as batteries go, it only creates normal batteries, and rarely it'll still give you golden and mega batteries. They adjusted the formula used to calculate damage for Libra, I assume in a way that buffs it. They reduced the devil deal price of the Nail, Bloody Lust, and Bloody Gust to 1 red heart. They added Little Horn to the Devil Room pool. It was previously only there in greed mode for some reason. They added Guppy's Eye to the Curse Room pool, replaced Razor Blade with Bloody Rights in the Devil Room pool, replaced Mom's Razor with Razor Blade in the Curse Room pool. They increased the weight of Blank Card in the Shop pool to make it more common. Bomber Boy now has a normal rarity in the Bomb Bum pool, so now it's more common. Urn of Souls deals 50% more damage when combined with the Book of Belial via Judas's Birthright. They significantly increased the durability of Book of Virtue wisps created from Benchicle Razor, and they significantly increased the range and damage of the Brimstone Beams from Sulfur wisps. Devil's Crown no longer affects the Mirrored Treasure Room in Downpour 2. Monster Manual can now grant Gemini and Sci-Fly. The D7 no longer teleports the player when used in certain special rooms. Here's some updates regarding Greed and Greedier mode. They toned down the enemies spawned on the first floor of Greed and Greedier. Beggars no longer give treasure map, compass, or contract from below. They added Thick Odd Mushroom to Treasure Room pools, added Ball of Bandages to the Silver Treasure Room pool, removed Cube of Meat from most Greed mode pools except Silver Treasure Rooms and shops, removed Dead Bird and Ouija board from the Devil Deal pool, and they reduced the rate of Devil Room layouts with only runes. Now here's some other general updates. Rooms containing pits in the corpse can no longer be bloody. They added unique champion sprites for bosses, updated Onan streak to require Judas and It Lives to be unlocked first, added more room layouts, updated various item qualities, and they updated localization files. Here's a bunch of small bug fixes that were added. You can pause and read if you want to. Overall, I would say this is a fantastic and much needed update. Ed, Vin, and everyone else who worked on Isaac do such a good job at balancing the game and making it the best it can be, and it really shows. Honestly, thank you all for your hard work. At this point, it's becoming a question of what changes really need to be made. There's over 700 items in the game. I still can't say I love every single one of them, but it's getting pretty close. Out of 34 characters, there's only one I actively dislike, and out of every single boss, there's really only one I would rework. Other than adding new content, which I don't expect a ton of, if any, I am not sure what more I'd change. And that is very impressive. The Binding of Isaac is getting better and better with every single patch. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have... So I'll let you guys watch the ending real quick. I'm going to go pee. Then we're going to do some more testing. I'll show you guys the new boss. and then we'll look on Reddit or whatever and try to figure out this secret room thing with we need to go deeper, all that good stuff. So bear with me, I'll be back in a second.